Picture this: an invisible enemy, something so small you could fit millions of them on the tip of a pin, yet powerful enough to shut down entire cities, rewrite history, and change the way humanity lives. We fear them, study them, and fight them constantly. We call them viruses. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why that word? Why virus? It sounds almost sinister, like something designed to spread and corrupt. And strangely enough, that's exactly what the word originally meant. Today, we'll unravel the story behind the name virus and how a word from ancient times evolved into one of the most important scientific terms in the modern world. Let's explore right here on History of Simple Things. The word virus actually comes from Latin, the language of ancient Rome. In Latin, virus didn't mean a microscopic organism. It didn't even refer to anything alive. Instead, it meant poison, venom, or a toxic substance. Imagine snake venom, or a harmful liquid, something dangerous that spreads harm once it enters the body. That was the original meaning. There was no concept of microbes or germs at the time, so people used the word to describe mysterious substances that caused illness or death. In a way, it was their best attempt to explain something they couldn't see or fully understand. For centuries, that's how the word was used. Even as science began to advance, the idea of disease was still clouded in mystery. People believed in bad air, curses, or imbalances in the body. It wasn't until the 19th century that things began to change dramatically with the rise of microbiology. Scientists like Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch started proving that microorganisms, tiny living things, could cause disease. Bacteria were discovered, studied, and identified as culprits behind many illnesses. But even then, there were still diseases that didn't fit the pattern. Some infectious agents were clearly smaller and behaved differently than bacteria. They passed through filters that could trap bacteria, leaving scientists puzzled. This is where the word virus made its big comeback, but with a new meaning. Scientists needed a term for these mysterious infectious agents that seemed like poisons but behaved like something alive. So they borrowed the old Latin word virus to describe them. It made sense at the time. These agents acted like poison in how they spread and damaged the body, but they also had the strange ability to replicate and infect cells. They weren't exactly alive in the traditional sense, but they weren't completely non-living either. The name virus perfectly captured that eerie in-between nature. As research continued into the early 20th century, scientists finally began to understand what viruses really are. Unlike bacteria, viruses are incredibly simple structures. They're made up of genetic material, either DNA or RNA, wrapped in a protective protein coat. Some even have an outer envelope. But here's the twist: viruses cannot reproduce on their own. They must invade a living cell and hijack its machinery to make copies of themselves. That's why they're often described as biological parasites. Without a host, a virus is essentially inactive, like a dormant threat waiting for the right moment. The name virus became even more fitting as scientists observed how these agents behave. Much like poison, viruses spread silently, often without immediate symptoms. They infiltrate the body, replicate rapidly, and can disrupt normal biological functions. But unlike traditional poisons, viruses evolve. They mutate, adapt, and sometimes become more dangerous over time. This combination of stealth, adaptability, and harm made the term virus stick permanently in scientific language. Interestingly, the concept of a virus didn't stay confined to biology. In the late 20th century, the word found a new home in the world of computers. A computer virus is a piece of malicious code that spreads from one system to another, infecting files and disrupting operations, just like a biological virus infects cells. The comparison wasn't just poetic, it was incredibly accurate. Both types of viruses replicate, spread, and cause damage, often without being immediately detected. The name carried over so naturally because the behavior was nearly identical in concept. So when you hear the word virus today, you're actually hearing a term that has traveled through thousands of years of human understanding. From ancient poison to invisible biological invader to digital threat, the word has evolved alongside our knowledge. It's a perfect example of how language adapts as we learn more about the world around us. What started as a vague description of something harmful became a precise scientific term, and eventually a metaphor used across entirely different fields. But there's something even deeper here. The persistence of the word virus reflects humanity's ongoing struggle to understand the unseen. For most of history, viruses were completely invisible to us. We didn't have microscopes powerful enough to detect them, yet their effects were undeniable. They caused epidemics, shaped civilizations, and influenced the course of human history. Even today, despite all our technological advancements, viruses continue to challenge us. They remind us that some of the most powerful forces in the world are the ones we cannot see. So the next time you hear the word virus, remember that it's more than just a scientific label. It's a word with a history. A story that stretches from ancient Rome to modern laboratories and even into cyberspace. It's a reminder of how far we've come in understanding the hidden world around us and how language evolves to keep up with discovery. And perhaps most intriguingly, it shows that sometimes the names we give things reveal just as much about our past as they do about the things themselves. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.